Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. DMac, Cecil, Lammy, Rachel Beal hanging out with you because it's Friday. It's Friday. And the weather's not too bad. It's a beautiful December day. You guys, how are both of you on this Friday? As you can tell, I clearly got a good amount of sleep last night, so I'm like ready to go. I'm fired up. Cecil, how are you?
You're feeling good. Day's still punching. That's what I always say. But yeah, we're here. Let's go. Let's do it. Now, looking at a Broncos win, right? Oh my God. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
How confident are you on that, Cecil?
I actually almost emailed you because I emailed you a while ago, a little behind the scenes, because you email everybody, I need your Broncos picks. And I emailed you a month ago. I was like, I'm never picking them again. I almost emailed you to say like, hey, I'll pick them this week. But then I was like too lazy to do that. So.
Well, if you need me to, you would not be the only person who has changed their mind here today. I've gotten 2 text messages of people being like, hey, can you actually change my pick for this weekend? So if you need me to, more than happy to.
I am picking the Denver Broncos to win this game.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals are lousy. They're not a good team.
Oh, they're bad.
They're in arguably more disarray than the Denver Broncos, which seems almost impossible to imagine, but they are having an absolute train wreck season with coaching issues, quarterback issues, and for them, and I hope he's okay, it looks like some GM issues, although that's a health issue, so I hope the best for Steve Keim. But they're a mess. Yeah. They are a mess. They have nothing to play for as well. So with 2 teams for nothing to play for, I'll take the home team.
Might as well. It's supposed to be a beautiful day on Sunday. But you guys, when we're looking at this, we're not expecting, this huge offensive battle. So are we expecting field goals? Are we expecting touchdowns? Like, we're still unsure if Russell Wilson's going to play, which I think will play a big part in it, which we'll obviously have to wait and see. But, I mean, are you expecting to really see this offense to get rolling under Brett Rippon?
No. I think it's the same as always. It's turnovers leading to touchdowns, turnovers leading to points. If that's exactly what happened against Kansas City. I mean, they didn't win the game. I know it feels weird. It almost feels like they won the game last Sunday. Yeah. The way we are talking about things, they still lost, right? Last time I checked, they still lost. But the vibes this week have been kind of weird. It's as if they won. So not necessarily a moral victory, but kind of an as if victory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I wish I could say they're going to kick their ass. It's going to be 35-3 or whatever. Like, nah, probably not. D's on the money. And here's the thing. I hope Russell Wilson doesn't play. Like, there should be a rule where, okay, you're concussed and concussions vary, but like, you're not going to play the next week. And then we'll see after that. So I know there's league concussion protocol and the league really cares. And as I always say, broken record time, whenever the league says they really care about something, and I mean anything, they don't. But they're going to say they do because of lawyers and stuff. So I just wish Greg Penner, George Payton, somebody would tell Russell Wilson his long-term health is worth much more than a win over Arizona, because how do you make a bad season worse? Get Russell Wilson hurt or concussed again in a meaningless game against Arizona.
The protocol, the way it's set up, would stop you from playing on a Thursday, but it would not stop you from playing on a Saturday or a Sunday. Russell Wilson was in phase 3 of 5. He was out at practice full go yesterday, so I would assume that means phase 4. And after you go through phase 5, which theoretically would be today, then you're cleared. So it would have to be a decision on Russell Wilson that would be theoretically for his own benefit rather than for medical reasons. And you know what, guys? That just rarely happens in the NFL. It just very, very rarely happens. I'm not blaming anybody. I inherently agree with you, Cecil. But we do understand then the Broncos would be setting a precedent that the vast majority of teams don't uphold.
Yeah, and it's kind of this season, just the way it is. It's kind of, you're stuck with Russell Wilson. There are ways to get out of it, and it's fun to think about it, but it's not going to happen. They're going to keep Peyton. They're going to keep Wilson. They're going to fire Hackett. Even if they win against Arizona, they're still going to fire Hackett. So, like, we can see the future. I almost wish it's like when you're looking forward to your paycheck. as someone who's lived paycheck to paycheck for most of his life, you're like looking forward to that. Like, I know what I can spend when I get that thing, but I need that thing now. Like, we know they're going to get rid of Hackett, and we also know they're going to keep Wilson. So I kind of wish there was a way that, could pump the brakes, let him sit down, but no team does that. And the players always lie.
Cecil, why are you so confident they're going to get rid of Hackett?
That's also my question.
Yeah, well, why would they keep him? Like, what rule? They look good against Kansas City. Okay, fine. They beat Arizona. Okay, fine. Like, none of this stuff, nothing has changed. Nothing changes. They're not getting it. They're not clicking. They're not finding a way. They're doing everything way too damn late. Putting Jerry Jeudy in the X. Why wasn't he in the X in September? Why, huh? It's like they take this long to figure stuff out. And the Jerry thing, the Clint thing, like, okay, Hackett, we get it. So for me,
but
like,
you're making a reason to keep him. You're actually making a reason to keep him right there, because you can say, I understand what you're saying. Like, a lot of this stuff was obvious. Why didn't you do it before? That being said, they can certainly go to Greg Penner and say, well, we're doing it now. And look at all of the injuries. And why would we want to upset the apple cart when they did play hard for us? We were impacted by injuries, and it's working now. Why start all over again? That's why you keep them. And you save yourself millions of dollars, because not only would you have to buy out Hackett, you'd have to pay for a new coach and new assistants. So the reason to keep him is, and I'm not advocating to keep him, but watch me here.
Thank you. I was about to lose my mind.
It's clicking. We're going to get healthy, and let's not waste money when we don't have to.
Then they have to clean out his staff, because Butch Berry sucks.
Fine.
I've heard bad things about Ty Wheatley.
Okay.
Greg's or Zach Azani. We all love Z, but he's kind of the inside man. Why does guys survive different staffs? Oh, it's because it's like Studesville back in the day. Studesville was the guy who said everything. The ownership, there's always certain levels, so anyway, like they have to blow out the staff, not Ajira Evero or whatever, but like,
but Cecil, it's not the staff. It's like 4 or 5 coaches. I mean, it's like
half the staff. Like Dwayne Stukes. What does Dwayne Stukes do that's good? What does Dwayne Stukes do that's good besides his press conferences?
You're not going to get me defending Dwayne Stukes and all that. But you're asking, how do you save Hackett? And that's exactly how you do it. You replace some, lower level assistants to upgrade you. Listen, I'm not guaranteeing they're going to blow out Hackett. I just see a path of keeping Hackett. And I would rather keep Hackett, Payton, and Wilson together, because if it really falls apart, it's easier to get rid of all 3 next year. I think if George Payton blows out Hackett, whoever he hires will be there for another 3 years. Now, if it's Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh, okay, fine, sign me up. But I am completely unconvinced that Mike Zimmer, Dan Quinn, Leslie Frazier, Frank Reich are the answers. I'm not convinced, because I still think the bigger problem is Russell Wilson. So I would rather move on from all 3 rather than just piecemeal it and stay in a pit of misery for the next 3 years.
You also think the bigger problem is George Payton, if I'm correct. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but here's the thing.
Problem too, yes.
Here's the thing on Sean Payton, and I broke it on Wednesday on Orlando and Cecil's Pizza Party. Yay! Sean Payton's probably going to stay in New Orleans. There's people I talk to around that building that I trust that are very confident that Sean Payton will be back next year, and it will be with New Orleans.
Really?
So forget. And the Chargers are looking like the Chargers can win the next 4 games. So Chargers looking like they're going to make the playoffs, save Brandon Staley's job. But the people, and maybe these are Saints people that I'm talking to, and they're like super confident or overly confident. I get all that. But the word in New Orleans right now is, Sean Payton's going to coach next year here.
Wow.
All right. Well, there you go, Suze. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, that was kind of a bombshell you brought.
Is that he's going to be in LA either with the Rams or the Chargers.
Yeah.
But all right. What?
Yeah, Sean McVay was thinking about retirement. No, the Broncos is a pipe dream. But I thought Deion Sanders to see you was a pipe dream. So, a guy can dream, right? We're not going to take people's dreams away, DMac.
Well, yeah, and Deion Sanders, the one thing, and I know a lot of people were like so doubtful about it, but as soon as I learned more about his son, Shador, I was like, oh, okay, sure. I mean, because it's that's the perfect max. So, yeah, but there's not another connection like that. So the only way you get Jim Harbaugh, so let's take Sean Payton out of it. The only way you get Jim Harbaugh is just to overwhelm him and make him the highest paid coach ever, and also give him a lot of control, meaning George Payton would be hiring his boss. Now, if that saves George Payton, and it would, by the way, it would guarantee that George Payton would live out more or less his entire contract unless Jim Harbaugh would have the rights to fire George Payton, which would be weird. I would think that he wouldn't have those rights. However, I do think Jim Harbaugh would have the rights to bring in his other personnel people, and it would very much mitigate the role of George Payton. And that's, you know what, guys, that's probably a pipe dream too, okay? It really is. As much as we can speculate and have fun with it, that's probably a pipe dream. So I'm going to stick with what I've said. If not Harbaugh, then keep Hackett. Roll it all back. Either it clicks or you blow them all out at the end of 2023.
What's interesting for me, and going back kind of to the original point, is I have no faith in the management to make a change with Hackett. Like, what has the Broncos organization done to be like, oh, yeah, we are making changes here? Like, that's where I'm like, I don't know if they would get rid of Hackett at the end of the year. Should they? Absolutely. This has been disastrous. But I don't know if I believe that George Payton can make that decision, or I think it would have to come from the Penners, and I don't really trust the Penners enough to do that either. The Walton Penner Group, I guess I should say. So that's where I'm at. Like, oh, yeah, you definitely should get rid of Nathaniel Hackett, but I don't know if I trust anybody in management to do that.
Well, so far, the biggest move that the Penner Group has done is pay for engineering students to take a bus to Texas. Other than that, we don't know much about it.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I think we just have to have faith. I mean, I have faith that the Walton Penner Group will get it right. How do I know that? Because there's a billion Walmarts everywhere. Like there's successful business people. I know they don't know football. And the people that do know Greg Penner, the indications are that he's pretty pissed. And we'll see if that leads to any sort of coaching change. But yeah, I know that business stuff will be done differently next year.
This is happening in less than a month. In less than a month, we'll know.
Yeah, and in fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, D, but with 2 weeks left in the season, you can start talking to other coaches.
Yeah. You can, but you can't. So you could start after Christmas for sure. And, maybe it starts then. But teams don't wait around. You have to act within a day or two after the regular season. And there may be a situation where the Broncos start just a little bit earlier, because it would not shock me if their Sunday game, last game of the season, actually gets changed to Saturday. That wouldn't surprise me. So this is all about to unfold. We've talked a lot about it, and we really are about to see what the Walton Penner Group really thinks in about a month.
Man, I wish we would have saw it a couple weeks ago. Okay, so we're talking about pipe dreams for a lot of these coaches, people you would love to see come in. So who's a realistic option that Broncos country can be like, all right, this could possibly happen, Cecil?
Well, they're never going to do it, D. And please take this and run with it, because I'd love to speak it into existence. But if we all love the Kevin O'Connells, and it's a first-time guy, that's why they're not going to do it. And I called Mike McDaniel years and years ago when people would ask me who's the next up-and-coming coach. It was actually LaFleur. I remember talking about LaFleur years ago, and then I would say, and the guy behind him is Mike McDaniel. There's a guy behind the guy, too, Zach Robinson from Colorado, Chatfield, and former Patriots quarterback, worked at PFF. Zach's now with the Rams. So Zach Robinson's like the next Kevin O'Connell, but it's a first-time coach, so they're not going to do that. They're going to get some experience. It's Frank Reich, everybody. Like, okay, put me to sleep. But if you want the next hot, like Kevin O'Connell, Mike McDaniel, hot coach, Zach Robinson, man, go to Chatfield, get your quarterback coach.
Hey, listen, man, don't upset the Smoky Hill High School, pipeline to the NFL with Mike McDaniel. I see you, Cecil. I'm looking at Smoky Hill right now out my window, thinking about Mike McDaniel prowling those hallways back in the day.
Not that long ago.
Chatfield love. I get it, but you're trying to take the shine off Smokey. I know it. I can see it.
Yeah, bring it over here to the West, baby.
No, Rachel, listen, if we're just talking about assistants becoming first-time head coaches,
we know they're not going to do that. We know we're not going to.
No, but I mean that's like a candidate of like 50. There's a bunch of people there's so many people that can sort of fit that. it's really impossible to narrow it down to just a couple. So, okay, if they're going to do that. But that would be 4 times in a row with the first-time head coach. So if you wipe out that candidate pool of 50, that seems unlikely that they'll do. I mean, we can name them. Dan Quinn, Frank Reich, Leslie Frazier, and give me one more, Cecil. I know there's one more I'm thinking about.
Oh boy, for veteran guy, what, Pep Hamilton, like something like that. Well, people have talked about Bruce Arians.
Mike Zimmer.
What about Bruce Arians out of retirement? People have talked about that. Like, you know, if we're gonna talk pipe dreams and veteran guys, then let's talk pipe dreams and veteran guys.
All right, there's Bruce. So, okay,
but I put
Bruce
Arians on the Harbaugh Peyton thing. Like, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna be Dan Quinn. Everybody, you're gonna get Dan Quinn. Gonna get Brian Schottenheimer as an OC and bring it back to the Seattle days and run the ball, which means they better draft better because George Payton dropped the ball. And I'm not a Fire Payton guy, but damn it, his day 3 eyes got to be better. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I missed on a million picks. Like, I'm going to talk about all of it. But if Jim Harbaugh comes here and he takes over and George Payton, you get the scraps. Yes, the scraps. You can get good stuff from the scraps. Tariq Woolen is like the best corner in the league. And he was a 5th-round pick, the very pick after Delarian Turner-Yell, who sucks. He's fine. He's nice. Whatever. But like George Payton, if you're going to stick around, buddy, you got to get better at the end of the draft. And I kind of thought he was going to do that, but I mean, Surtain, Javonte, yes. Dulcich, yes. Man, it's way too many misses in these 2 years to be, you know, thinking that George Payton could be the answer. Like, no, man, you got to be better.
If you had to just predict, say we're in this exact same position next year, I'm not saying record, but like we're all 3 sitting here. Is George Payton on the hot seat for losing his job, or does he figure it out this year? Cecil?
I got to know the coach. I have to know the coach because that'll cover it up. There's always a power struggle between coach and GM and quarterback, and they usually have to work in like a holy trinity together. And when it doesn't work, you figure out which one's the bad one or who can politic good enough to get the other ones canned. So I have to know that. Right now, I'd say yes, he's on the hot seat.
Well, theoretically, I'd be pretty pumped if we were in this same exact position last. Now, I would only hope there wouldn't be somebody. Well, because we'd be on path to Caleb Williams, and I'd be actually kind of pumped up. So if we're in this position now, you got to tell me nobody else is going to fail worse than the Broncos at 3 wins. I mean, you can't tell me there's another 1-win, 1-tie team out there like the Texans. So it might be a bit torturous, or unless they change, which they probably should. There probably should be a lottery for that first pick. They shouldn't allow teams just to tank out. And why should a team that finishes 3rd worst or 4th worst not have a shot at the overall number 1 pick too? I mean, they all stink, and you really shouldn't be rewarded for stinking the most. They actually really should do that. But if they don't, I'll be excited at this time next year. I will have already gone through my I told you so disappointment moments, and I'll be looking towards the future December 16th, 2023.
And Sean Payton said teams tank. That kind of hit the news cycle, and nobody really brought it up. It wasn't a big deal because whatever, hashtag World Cup or something. I don't know. Sean Payton said he knows teams tank, and that just kind of passed through the news. Nobody said a damn thing.
It's a easy solution to do the bottom, well, the non-playoff teams, and you weight it just like the NBA, and you do almost the exact same thing the NBA does. It makes the most sense, and I'm not even against the creativity of opening up some interesting playoff position spots, kind of like the NBA has done this year, because it makes teams sort of compete and stay legitimate. The more you can keep teams in the mix, the better. And the less you can keep them from tanking. And I'm not surprised to hear that admission that teams tank. Of course they do. We're not keeping track, guys, of bottom feeder teams and who they're not playing in the last 2 weeks of the season. We're not. And, we've had moments here with the Broncos. Aqib Talib just gave up on his last game with the Broncos. Emmanuel Sanders had a foot injury on the second play of the game. That happened. I don't know if Draymond Jones is going to be that excited to play more football for the Broncos at this point. I mean, undoubtedly, things have been happening like that. So NFL, you should take it out of the picture. And I would be even more pumped because then you don't have to finish with 1 win or 2 wins and you can be back in the mix. It would make it exciting for everybody. I don't know why the NFL, Cecil, hasn't done that already, but they clearly should.
It used to take care of itself. We used to have parity. Now we just have teams that suck. This is like the 90s. Rachel, we're old, so it's before your time. But like this reminds me of 90s football where it's like you had your powerhouses and you had a bunch of like average whatever, and then you had teams that sucked. Like parity ran the NFL. I think the fat hog got fat, like Mark Cuban said, because it was parity. And it was, if you're a Bengals fan, you were super excited. And this before Joe Burrow, like, everybody had a chance. And then now, whatever, bad drafting, mismanagement of the salary cap, whatever you want to call it, now there's just teams that just suck. And then like a few average teams, and then the elite teams are very, very few, and not as many as we thought entering this year. We thought Green Bay'd be better. They're terrible. We didn't expect the Eagles to take this sort of step. Eagles might be the best team in the league. So like you have a few elite. It's class warfare in the NFL. It used to be kind of everybody and to the end and important football. And now like this last month for the Broncos, like they don't need to win any of these games.
Mm-hmm. Who's the most surprising, good or bad, team in the NFL this year? Because it is kind of all over the place. Cecil?
Oh, to me, it's the Eagles. It's amazing what they've done. It's mind-blowing. And talk about lucky. You found your quarterback for the next decade in the second round. I can't tell you how unbelievably rare that is and how incredibly lucky it is. But it really does look like Hurts is completely legit, and they've got the right coach who seemed like an idiot right off the bat. But, boy, he seems to have it together. And they did the most impossible thing ever. They won a Super Bowl. They more or less tanked out, and they built it back up again in a very short period of time. If the Jets make the playoffs, and I'm just seeing the news that Zach Wilson is actually going to start for the Jets, so he's off his fanny spanking. If they do make the playoffs, only the Broncos will be the only team in the NFL in the past 7 years to not make the playoffs. That's it, if the Jets make it this year.
Yeah, and two things super quick. One, they almost blew Jalen Hurts out, but they got him A.J. Brown as a let's see what he can do, and he's flourished, and that's a credit to Howie Roseman, their GM. Teams are run well, you notice. And the second thing, super quick, D, you're always right, because I saw Hurts at the Senior Bowl with Justin Herbert, by the way, and Steven Montez looked better than him. So, it's about finding the fit. But when the guy hits like that, he should have been a first rounder. So the khaki pants is always stupid. It's always. Hey, the fifth rounder, whatever. Like, if he's that guy, he should have been a first rounder. We already know that. So, yes, Jalen Hurts, second rounder, should have been a first.
Hey, Cecil, wait till everybody, the Mike Evans of the world, use Brock Purdy as the example of why you don't draft a quarterback. Wait till you see that one. Meanwhile, look at the passing leaders in the NFL, guys. Look at the passing leaders. Take out the GOAT, Tom Brady, and it's one highly first-round guy after another. The best players come high in the first round in terms of quarterbacks. The end. If you want to go luck and hope as a strategy, have at it. But I think that is absolutely insane. The concept that the draft is a crapshoot is only espoused by morons.
Can the 49ers win the Super Bowl? Oh, are you peacing out, Cecil?
No. I was blowing kisses at DMac. I was getting him the Keanu Reeves kiss. Right?
I was like, my goodness, all right.
No. If D was right here, I'd sit on his lap and give him a hug.
The people that say the draft is a crapshoot are simply people that don't examine or look at the draft. They don't pay any attention to it. They don't know the history of it, and they don't know they do not understand positional relative value. They don't get it. And what was disturbing is that George Payton, who's paid millions of dollars to understand it, he doesn't get it. That's what's insane. How does a guy that's in the NFL that long in that position not understand the concept of positional relative value? It's mind blowing. So that's why I don't want George Payton, guys. That's the real reason. He's already proved to me he doesn't understand football. And one of those ways is actually through the draft and free agency and management of coaches. What else, guys? What else is there? I don't need to know anything else about George Payton. He's not the guy. And we should move on to have somebody who knows and understands what it means to win in the NFL. He doesn't.
You know why I think people have a hard time with the draft? It's almost like a breakup, right? It's like the people that don't believe in true love, where they look at it and they're like, "Oh, I've got burned so many times," because you got to find the real gems, right, for them to stick out and be a generational player, DMac, as you always say. And so I feel like people almost look at it as like, "Oh, I don't like it." It's so hard to find that. That's why I don't believe in true love and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm sorry for your broken heart first, Rachel.
I don't know. I believe in true love. I still believe in marriage and stuff. I just know a lot of people that don't.
No, I think what people are guilty of is the I call it AIS, assumed incompetence syndrome. And what that is things never work out for me and my team. So it's like we can't have good things here. And these are people who are perpetually afraid of failure. And when you're perpetually afraid of failure, you don't take chances. But the funny part about that is to actually build a winning football team, the safest thing you can do is to take relative chances on the most important of positions. It's crazy unsafe to take a cornerback over a quarterback when you need a quarterback. And I'm looking at you, Seattle Seahawks. Don't get bamboozled by what is now falling apart for you. If you have the second pick of the draft, which they do right now, they would be insane not to take a shot on one of the probably 3 quarterbacks, Cecil, that would be available at that particular spot. There probably will be 3. Now, it's up to them. So whether it's Stroud or Levis or, I don't
Russ
know. That's right. There'll be a guy there. And we'll see how dumb they are if they really think Geno Smith is the future.
There's no way. They have to draft a quarterback, right, Cecil?
Yeah, it'll be a quarterback. Bryce Young's the best one. Early swipe. I'm doing the deep dive, so yeah, it has to be. If it's not, then whatever. But we've seen this story before. Like, veteran comes back and he plays kind of well, and then it falls apart at the end of the season. Like, you get enough film. Like, that's the Brock Purdy thing. Like, give me Brock Purdy in week 4 or start number 5, and then if he's tearing it up, I'm like, okay, let's see it. Until you get a month's worth of film, these defense don't know what you can do yet. Once they figure it out, they're going to take it away from you.
I think the Niners are actually – listen, I think Trey Lance was on the upswing. I think that guy was actually going to be okay. He just needed some experience and some game time before he got hurt. The Niners are in a really interesting place because they could go out and get Tom Brady next year while they're still developing Trey Lance and hoping that he develops. And they are in a weird position. You asked, could they win the Super Bowl? Sure. Once you get to the playoffs, I mean, shoot, anything can actually happen. And they have a great coach, and they have some unbelievable playmakers and a really solid offensive line. They've been dinged up on the defense too, but they have enough quality players, and they're getting hot at the right time. So, okay, yeah, sure, they've got a shot. And wouldn't that be something in this miserable year of the Broncos if the team that wins the Super Bowl is one of the few teams the Broncos actually beats?
Yeah, no kidding. It is. All right, Cecil, I know you got to peace out. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on this Friday.
Appreciate you guys.
As always, Cecil, have a wonderful weekend. Him and I will be there on pregame for Sunday. But DMac, I do want to get into the Nuggets for a little bit because Jokic, they came out with like the early MVP voting stuff. And while we knew it was pretty much impossible that he was going to win for a third time, like that's just not going to happen. There's not, believe it or not, even though he's won the last 2, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of respect on Jokic's name, which if you're in Denver, you find that very hard to believe. But when you look at the national media, it's not that hard to assume. But he only has 1 vote. Is that absurd?
It's positively ridiculous. The Nuggets are one of the top teams record-wise in the NBA. They're the top scoring team per 100 possessions. Defensively, nobody's really playing big defense in the NBA. The Nuggets just scored 98 points in the paint, 43 coming from Jokic in the paint, 17 of 18 shooting, with the only miss a rebound that he got for an and one. Rachel, it's a travesty that people are, I guess, just sick of greatness. Jokic remains the best player in the NBA, the most dominant. His numbers might not be as gaudy scoring wise because they don't need to be. But look at the overall team. The team is clearly better, and the team is clearly scoring more. And he is, without a doubt, the most important player on that particular team. And if you look at other numbers from Jokic, they're up. So, no, I find it ridiculous, absurd, and it's just I'm not trying to rip on the other players that are all really good quality players, but Nikola Jokic hasn't changed. The two-time MVP remains the best player. You'd be insane to not use Jokic as your number one pick if you were to start a team tomorrow. Taking any player but Jokic, if you could pick anybody in the NBA to start a team, you would be insane not to take a point center who's got the smartest NBA IQ. It would be ridiculous. I would love to hear the argument why somebody would take anybody rather than Jokic as their first player if they're building their team tomorrow.
Well, it's funny because at the beginning of the season, for a lot of people, it was like, oh, Jamal Murray and MPJ are coming back, so Jokic isn't going to have the ball as much. And I know that's like the excuse that a lot of people gave, but he still finds ways day in and day out to be able to be beneficial for this team. And it is crazy when you look at his numbers, and he's got his priorities straight. He doesn't need that MVP trophy. He can leave it at Ball Arena. Who cares what happens to that thing? His priorities are straight when it comes to all he wants to do is win basketball games.
Yeah, he doesn't care about all that stuff. So, we can get worked up as a fan base. I thought Zach Bai brought an interesting point up on the radio, and I understand that Jokic wants to demur at all of the attention. But if I were to talk to Jokic about one thing, and I think Zach hit on something, it's not just about you. It's about us as a fan base and a community as well. So while the attention might feel uncomfortable to you and you don't desire it, we love it. And we do want to know that you love being a Nugget and you love being here, whether that's true or not. So this is a small, tiny point when it comes to Jokic. But if we want to shower praise on you or give attention or bring the MVP trophy out to show it off to all the crowd, I mean, if I was advising Jokic, I'd say just let those moments happen because we understand how tremendous it is to have you in our lives in terms of a fan base. So I think that's not really in Jokic's nature. And I'm not even saying that's overall a negative thing, but there's nothing that's changed, Rachel. In terms of Michael Porter Jr., he's going to miss his 10th game tonight, but there are a lot of indications he'll be back against the Hornets on Sunday. So it looks like the Nuggets have more or less survived that. Jamal Murray, Rach, he can go for 30 and then go for 5. He's not all the way back. I'd say he's like 85% of the way back. 100% of the way back is he doesn't have off nights like he had the other nights. You realize Jokic never has an off night. I know.
Day in and day out, man. He puts up great numbers.
So if Jamal wants to be considered one of the best, which I think he could do, that has to happen. In the meantime, Jokic is Jokic, and they have a lot of depth on this team, and the rise of Busy Bones is happening at Ball Arena, and I don't think that's slowing down anytime soon.
Busy. We love Busy. Okay, DMac, what would you do with $36,281?
I would set it aside to make sure I could pay the rest of my college for my son who's got 2 years left of college.
Okay. I had $36,000 to do whatever I wanted with. You went responsible. I would do, to be honest, there's this North Pole cruise that's really cool. It's like 2 weeks. I think I would go to the North Pole and go find a polar bear and like some penguins or something. But anyways, Jerry Jeudy just got fined $36,281 for, we knew $23,000 was for making contact with the game official, but then he also got an additional $13,000 for removing his helmet per source. So he did get a big boy penalty or big boy fine right there. But interesting, $36,000 payout.
Well, maybe Jake on the back end could help us out. But what's a game check for Jerry Jeudy? And that's what you got to put it in balance with, because if he gets suspended for a game, he loses a game check. So 36 for Jerry Jeudy may be a bargain. He didn't get thrown out. And don't forget, he did not get thrown out of that game.
Yeah.
All of his touchdowns, Rachel, happened after that incident.
Yeah.
So not only did he not lose a game check, but he was also allowed to stay in a game that he had arguably his best game as a pro. So I would say overall things worked out okay for Jerry Jeudy. Now, I don't know what to say about you and your North Pole adventures. Perhaps
I found out that penguins are only at the South Pole, so that's a disappointment. And actually, I feel like I remember that now from like middle school. But I do want to see a polar bear in my life. That's something I would love to check off. But
you realize there's like polar bears down at the Denver Zoo, right?
Yeah, but I want to see a real one.
A real, like in the wild.
Like in the wild. Like, do you know how cool it would be to watch like a polar bear go hunt something? I'm like a big animal nerd. Like most people don't know this about me. But like, I love
to see a polar bear kill its prey live.
Yes. Yes.
So your life won't be done until you can see a polar bear rip apart a seal.
I would love to watch it. Yes. Listen, wow. I've gone to Yellowstone many times in my life. I've gone to Alaska many times in my life. I've been very fortunate, and I'm the girl who was willing to get up at 4 a.m. to go after when it's dark to go find the animals. That's just who I am. But going back to football, Jerry Jeudy's game check is $117,128. Thanks, Jake, on the back end. So he's losing 30% of his game check. That's definitely not bad. Like that's
not bad. All things considered, that's not bad. No, I mean that's minor league. Well, I mean, Rachel, I mean, what would you do with 117,000? I mean, you could live with the polar bears. Are you kidding me?
Seriously, there's a video of this guy. He like sits in this like little cage thing and he lets the polar bears like come up to him and sniff him. I'm like, oh, can I do that? I want to go to Hawaii, which we're looking. We might try and go to Hawaii next year. I'm fingers crossed. It'd be incredible. But you can go in the cage with the sharks. Are you freaking kidding me, DMac? Would you do that? Because I am so down.
Rachel, what's clear to me right now is you've got a wanderlust that needs to be satisfied. So while I bore everybody with my responsibilities of taking care of, my children, I just want to follow you with whatever you're doing in your life.
I don't have to be responsible yet.
I want to swim and feed a shark. I want to wake up tomorrow and make sure the lights are on at the house, so.
Well, I want to do that too, but $117,000. I mean, come on. You could go to Hawaii. You could still pay off your mortgage, obviously, for quite a few months with $117,000. You could go to Hawaii, a price of two for like a week and a half, and you could go swim with the sharks. I'm sorry, you could. And you'd still have money you'd be able to save and, put in maybe some stock funds, try and, get some interest there, grow it. Jake said he's going to the F1 race in Vegas next November. That's what he would do. We're all about travel. You can tell we don't have kids. We're all about traveling.
No, that is damn clear that none of you guys have kids. And you know what? You know what I say? Good for you guys. I mean, hey, if I could give younger people some advice, have fun in your 20s. The kids will always, to anybody, I'll tell you this, man. I didn't have a kid till I was 30 years old. And then, I'm almost out on the back end of things. I'm 2 years away from it, basically. I think your 20s are meant to travel and experience things and just satisfy whatever adventures in life you can find. And I'm hoping to get back to it. But you got to understand, it's been 25 years of me being hammering over the head of responsibility and kids and bills and all this type of crap. So I love your ideas for adventure. And as soon as I'm out the back door of these silly kids that I decide to have, I'm right there with you, feeding with polar bears and swimming with sharks and, giving birth to an ostrich. Whatever the world has in front of me, I'm right there with you.
Okay, take a guess at how much it is for one person to get in a cage and to go out with like the sharks in Hawaii. Just give me a guess.
I'd say it's probably $750.
No, it's only like $325.
It's a bargain. That is a bargain.
I know. That's why I'm like, I always thought it'd be like $1,000. And I was like, oh, I'd never be able to. No, if you look into it, and you obviously got to go with the safe companies. You don't want anything to happen, but it's not that bad.
But now, Rachel, I will tell you, I have been there at sunrise on Mount Haleakala in Hawaii for a sunrise moment and then a bike ride down. and it's one of the most beautiful moments of your life. I've been on catamaran diving, deep sea diving off the coast of Hawaii. I've been on a helicopter tour of the Big Islands and two duo massages with me and my wife on our honeymoon. And we did all of that because my wife went on The Price is Right on our honeymoon. She won 2 snowmobiles, a couch, and a vacuum cleaner. And we sold the 2 snowmobiles to Jim Kelly of the Buffalo Bills for $6,000. So when we went off to Hawaii after she was on The Price is Right, we didn't look at a bill for anything. If we wanted to do it, we did it. And it's all because my wife won 2 snowmobiles on The Price is Right.
And because you didn't have kids.
Especially because we didn't have kids.
Okay, but wait, that's crazy. Like, how did you and Jim Kelly even connect to be able to make this switcheroo?
When I tell the 30-second version of that story, it leads to a longer conversation, obviously.
Yes.
I worked at 97 Rock, and Jim Kelly did a weekly radio show with us. We were a partner radio station with the Buffalo Bills, so we had a close relationship with Jim. He lived with his brother, Dan Kelly, and his version of Turtle, Tommy Good. This was before Jim was married and had kids, and he had a lot of relatives from East Brady, Pennsylvania, that would come up to Buffalo. So much so that he needed extra snowmobiles. And believe it or not, it was hard to find snowmobiles in Buffalo, especially at that price, because the total price of the snowmobiles was $8,645. Why? Because it was $8,645, and the snowmobiles were $4,000 or $8,000. And my wife was smart and guessed 2 snowmobiles were $8,000. That side by side was the name of the game. So Jim Kelly got himself like a $3,000 bargain on the snowmobiles, and I got myself $6,000 in cash. But Rachel, I did not realize my income tax would go up by $10,000, and I had no cash to pay for that increase. So we got nailed on taxes, Rachel. We did. But while we were in Hawaii, we didn't look like it a price for anything. And that's how Jim Kelly ended up buying the snowmobiles, because we sold it to him after we were on The Price is Right. But we always knew we were going to sell the snowmobiles to somebody, because we lived in downtown Buffalo in the city. And despite the snow, you don't troll around in snowmobiles in a city, even in Buffalo.
True. Hey, you live and you learn with the taxes, all right? That's all I'm going to say. Lauren said my wife won $100 on The Price is Right. The only thing I've ever won, and like truthfully won, not being at like a company party or anything like that, is I won a towel at a Girl Scout event when I was like 7 years old. I still have that towel. It's like the best towel ever. It's like a huge towel. It's incredible. And I
Rachel,
think that's the only thing I've ever won.
Try as you may with your towel story. You did not just top my Price is Right story. You came close, but you didn't top my Price is Right story.
I did win tickets, though, at our lovely sister station. This was before I worked here, from KYGO, to go see Tim McGraw. Or no, Faith Hill. Just Faith. I lied. So there's that. But yeah, I think that's all.
Again, Bob Barker.
I know. I'm not cool. I'm not cool. Maybe after I go swim with sharks, I can beat you on that. Okay.
Now that's a story. That's a story.
That's a story worth telling. Bike ride down the volcano in Hawaii is the best. I will add it to my itinerary if I can make this trip happen. Otherwise, you want to hear my other, since it's a Friday, let's just talk about vacation.
Sure.
We're going to try and do a adventure to Grand Teton, Yellowstone, and Banff, and do like a full road trip. I know. So I'm a big vacation planner, so I'm like trying to crunch all the numbers and see what we can get.
I couldn't support you more. I think if we all just wanted to enjoy life more, we would get outside, we would travel, we would drink great wine, read tremendous books, and enjoy the pleasures of life. And I say the more of that you can do, the more often, the better. And then children and kids are an unbelievable, rewarding part of your life as well. I wouldn't do anything except for being a father. But trust me, get out there, enjoy it, have a great time. And then we can all meet again in the fall to see Russell Wilson play football.
To see what he's done. in his off season too. I'm sure his travels are much more exciting than a lot of ours. But anyways, that is going to do it for Coffee Break today on this Friday. Thank you everybody so much for hanging out with us. You can catch DMac and I doing post game on Sunday for the Broncos game. Make sure you come hang out with us. And if not, we'll see you Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. for another edition of Coffee Break. Bye everybody. Go travel. Go outside this weekend. Have fun. Bye.